Hey guys, here's our video on simplifying expressions, distributing, and combining like terms. So when we're simplifying expressions, all we're really doing is combining like terms. Like terms are terms that have the same exact variable, same exact exponent, or they're just constant terms. In question 1, our expression is 9x plus 5 plus 6x plus 3. All the terms that have a letter, this letter is called our variable. And the number in front of the letter, like 9 and 6, are called our coefficients. So our first pair of like terms are 9x and 6x. Our second pair of like terms is 5 and 3. Since they're just numbers by themselves, these are called constants. So to simplify this, we're first going to group our like terms. We have 9x plus 6x. And then we have 5 plus 3. Notice that when I rewrite the terms, I rewrite it with the sign that is in front of it. So for example, when I rewrote my 6x, I rewrote it with the addition sign in front of it because in the question, there is an addition sign in front of the 6. When I rewrote the 5 and the 3, I rewrote them with addition signs in front of them because in our original question, there are addition signs in front of them. So whenever we're moving terms around in an expression, we always move them with the sign that is in front of them. From here, all we're going to do is combine our like terms by adding or subtracting the coefficients from the variables and adding or subtracting the constants. So we have 9x plus 6x. 9 plus 6 is just 15. And since both terms have an x, we must keep the x in our final answer. So 9x plus 6x is 15x. Then we have 5 plus 3, which is just 8. And that's it. Our final answer here is 15x plus 8. Question 2 is asking us to simplify 4x plus 5 minus x minus 3. So we're first going to start by grouping our like terms. We have 4x and negative x. And these are like terms because they both have the variable x. So 4x minus x. And again, notice that when I rewrote my x, I rewrote it with the subtraction sign or the negative sign in front of it because in the original question, there is a subtraction sign in front of the x. And then our second pair of like terms are 5 and negative 3. So 5 minus 3. From here, we're just going to combine our like terms. When we have a variable by itself, like negative x or x, there's going to be an invisible 1 in front of that variable. We don't write out this 1 because if x is by itself, it's implied that it's just a 1x. So now we're going to combine 4x minus 1x. Well, 4 minus 1 is just 3, and they both have an x, so we're going to keep that x in our answer. 5 minus 3 is just 2. So our final answer here is 3x plus 2. Question 3 is asking us to simplify 4 times x plus 5. Whenever we have an expression that has parentheses and a number in front of the parentheses, right away we should think to distribute. Distribute just means to multiply. So every term inside of this parentheses is going to get multiplied by the number outside. So every term in here, x and 5, is going to get multiplied by 4. So 4 times 1x is just 4x. 4 times 1 is 4, and we keep the x. Then we're going to distribute or multiply 4 times 5, because every term in the parentheses needs to get multiplied by what's outside. 4 times 5 is just 20. So our final answer here is 4x plus 20. Question 4 is asking us to simplify 3 times x minus 4. Again, notice we have a parentheses and we have a number outside of the parentheses. That means we're going to have to distribute. So every term inside of the parentheses is going to get multiplied by 3. 3 times x, or 3 times 1x, is just 3x. 3 times 1 is 3, and we keep the x. Next, we have 3 times negative 4. Notice that when I'm distributing, I'm also distributing to the number, and I'm keeping the sign that is in front of the number. So I'm doing 3 times negative 4 because there is this subtraction sign or this negative sign in front of the 4. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. And if you're unsure about the signs, always make sure to double check in the calculator. So I'm just going to show you, if we did 3 times negative 4, we get negative 12. And that's all there is to this question. 3x minus 12 is our final answer. There's nothing else to combine here because this term has the variable x, but negative 12 does not. So since they are not like terms, we can't combine anything else, and this is our final answer. All right. Question 5 is asking us to simplify x squared, or x to the second power, minus 3x plus 9x minus 3. Notice that this x squared is the only term in this expression that has an exponent of 2. No other term in here has an exponent. So we're just going to rewrite this x squared by itself and leave it alone. There is no other like term to combine with the x squared. Next we have negative 3x plus 9x. Those are like terms because they both have an x, so we can combine those. Negative 3 plus 9 is positive 6. And they both have an x, so we must keep the x in our answer. Always remember to double check in your calculator if you're unsure. So if we double checked, if we put in negative 3 plus 9, you'll see that that comes out to positive 6. Next, we have this minus 3. And notice that there are no other numbers by themselves in this expression. Negative 3 is the only constant here. So there is no other like term to combine with negative 3. So all we're going to do is rewrite it and leave it by itself. So our final answer here is x squared plus 6x minus 3. Question 6 is asking us to simplify 2x squared plus 10x plus 7 plus 3x squared plus x minus 3. Notice that we have 2x squared right here, or 2x to the second power, and we also have a 3x squared over here. So now we have two terms that both have the exponent 2. Since these are like terms, we can go ahead and combine these. So let's start by rewriting this and grouping our like terms. So we have 2x squared plus 3x squared. Then we have 10x plus x. And then we have 7 minus 3. These are just our constants. Now that we've grouped our like terms, we can go ahead and combine them. So in 2x squared plus 3x squared, we're going to start by adding our coefficients. 2 plus 3 is just 5. And since we have an x squared in both terms, we're just going to rewrite that x squared in our answer. Since we're just combining like terms, we don't add the exponents. So we're just going to leave it as x squared. So 2x squared plus 3x squared is simply 5x squared. Then we have 10x plus x, or 10x plus 1x. 10 plus 1 is just 11, and they both have an x, so we need to rewrite that x in our answer. 10x plus 1x is 11x. And then for our constants, we have 7 minus 3, which is just positive 4. And this is going to be our final answer. Notice that because this 5x squared has an exponent, we cannot combine it with the 11x. We can only combine terms with that has exponents with other terms that have exponents, and we can only combine terms that have a variable with other terms that have a variable. Same with constants. So our final answer here is 5x squared plus 11x plus 4. Question 7 is asking us to simplify 2 times x plus 5 plus 5 times x minus 2. So right away, you should notice that we have expressions with parentheses. So right away, you should be thinking that you need to distribute. So our first step here is going to be to distribute 2 to this expression. 2 times x, or 2 times 1x, is just going to be 2x. 2 times 5 is just going to be 10. And then we're going to distribute this 5 to every term in our second parentheses. A common mistake here that some students make is to take this 2 and distribute it to our second parentheses as well. We're not doing that here because our expressions are separated by an addition sign. So these are two separate expressions that we're going to add after we distribute. All right, so now we have 5 times 1x, which is just 5x, and 5 times negative 2, which is negative 10. Again, if you're not 100% sure with the signs, or multiplying or adding or subtracting with negatives, always make sure to double check with your calculator. Now we're just going to combine our like terms. So let's group them. We have 2x plus 5x and 10 minus 10. 2x plus 5x is just 7x. 2 plus 5 is 7, and we keep our x. And then 10 minus 10 is just going to cancel out. We don't need to write 7x plus 0 because it's implied. So our final answer here is just going to be 7x. All right. Question 8 is asking us to simplify 2 times x squared minus 3x plus 5. So again, we have the expression with the parentheses, number outside the parentheses. So right away, we're going to think that our first step is going to be to distribute. 2 times x squared, or 2 times 1x squared, it's just going to be 2x squared. 2 times 1x squared is 2x squared, 3 times 1x squared is 3x squared, 4 times 1x squared is 4x squared, and so on. Then we have 2 times negative 3x. 2 times negative 3 is just negative 6, and we're going to keep our x. And then lastly, 2 times positive 5 is just positive 10. And that's our final answer for this question. Notice that we don't have any like terms to combine here. This 2x squared has an exponent, and no other term in here has an exponent. So there's nothing to combine with the 2x squared. Negative 6x is the only term that has this variable x, so we cannot combine anything else with the negative 6x. And then 10 is our only constant here, so there's nothing to combine with this either. Next we have 3x squared minus 2x minus 4 minus negative 2x squared plus 4x minus 5. So here we have two expressions that are being subtracted. When we have two expressions like so that are being subtracted, there is one additional step before we can combine any like terms. All right, so in this first expression, 3x squared minus 2x minus 4, there isn't any number outside of our parentheses to distribute, so we can just rewrite this by removing the parentheses. So this is going to be 3x squared minus 2x minus 4. Technically, there is an invisible 1 out here, but since it's a positive 1, anything times 1 is just that number itself. So 1 times 3x squared would just be 3x squared. 1 times negative 2x would just be negative 2x, and 1 times negative 4 is just negative 4. In the second half of this, where there is this subtraction sign, there is an invisible 1 here as well. This invisible negative 1, because there is a subtraction sign here, this makes the steps a little bit different, because now we have to distribute this negative 1 to every term inside of this parentheses. We can't just remove the parentheses and rewrite the terms like we did with the first expression, because this is now a negative 1. So we need to multiply every term by this negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 2x squared is going to be positive 2x squared. And if you double check in your calculator, if you put in negative 1 times negative 2, you're going to see that that's positive 2. Then we have negative 1 times positive 4x. Negative 1 times 4 is negative 4, and we keep the x. Then we have negative 1 times negative 5. A negative times a negative is a positive, so negative 1 times negative 5 is just positive 10. Notice that when we multiply by negative 1, all that's really happening is that the signs are being flipped. So in my expression, I had a negative 2x squared. When I multiplied by negative 1, it turned to a positive 2x squared. I had a positive 4x, which turned to a negative 4x. And I had a negative 5. I made a mistake here. This is going to be just 5. Sorry. I had a negative 5 that turned to a positive 5. So from here, all we're going to do is combine the like terms. So let's go ahead and group those. We have 3x squared plus 2x squared. We have negative 2x minus 4x. And we have negative 4 plus 5. So let's combine these. 3x squared plus 2x squared is just 5x squared. 3 plus 2 is 5, and we keep the x squared. Negative 2x minus 4x is negative 6x. In your calculator, if you double check, so negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. And we keep our x. Negative 4 plus 5 is just 1. So our final answer here is 5x squared minus 6x plus 1. And question 10, we have two expressions that are being added to each other. So, like we said just now, in front of this parentheses, there's an invisible 1, and then in front of the other parentheses, there's also an invisible 1. But notice that both of these ones are positive, and positive 1 times any number or any term is just going to be that term itself. Nothing changes, the sign doesn't change. So all we can do here is rewrite the expressions without the parentheses and then combine our like terms. And this is only when we're adding two expressions. So we have 3x squared minus 8x plus 4 minus x squared minus 4x plus 2. Notice that I just removed this parentheses and ignored this addition sign, so I just rewrote my negative x squared down here, right? I always rewrite my terms with the sign, sorry, that's in front of it. All we have to do now is combine the like terms. So we have 3x squared minus 1x squared. We have negative 8x minus 4x. And we have 4 plus 2. Now we just combine our like terms. 3x squared minus 1x squared is just 2x squared. Negative 8x minus 4x is negative 12x. Negative 8 minus 4 is negative 12, and we keep the x. And then 4 plus 2 is just 6. So our final answer here is 2x squared minus 12x plus 6. And that's all there is to simplifying expressions. All you're doing is identifying your like terms, which are terms that have either the same exponents, the same variables, or they're just constants. After you identify your like terms, you just add or subtract the coefficients. And that's it. Hope this helped. Bye.